Hello, I'm Richard Raffan. In this video you're going to see this tube, which is one of a series of things I made out of a slab of elm cut from the end of a very green log, and it was turned within a couple of days or so of the tree being cut. It's warped very slightly, as you can see, which was what I was hoping. It didn't warp quite as much as I'd hoped, but might go a bit further in the next few weeks. So I was about to stick this on the lathe, picked it up and discovered these splits had developed in the last 3 days since I cut the blank. So it was a 3-inch square. It's about to be probably something more like a 2-inch square, 50 mil. We'll see what we can get. So go to the bandsaw and I'm going to cut 3 of those to start with. Now, see what splits. Right, so that's not going to split, so that's solid. And I've actually got some more interesting looking grain here, which is very good. So, I now need to get this square. There's a split there. Take off about the same, I think. Right, so that now goes onto the lathe. So just a reminder that this is cross grain. The grain's running this way, the end grain. There you can actually see the growth rings. At least I hope you can see the growth rings. And I'm going to put this first into the chuck. I'm going to hold this in the chuck anyway sooner or later, so I thought if I can do it sooner rather than later, that's good. So that goes into there. Hand on the rest as I support the work, and then I can gauge center by eye. As always with center face work, which is what this is, grain running this way, I'm going to be roughing down with a 1/2-inch spindle gouge. Start slow running it up until things start vibrating. We'll even run a bit faster. So this is running at 1260. This is in this case you should definitely not use a big half-round spindle roughing gouge. It would really be quite dangerous. Cut would actually be easier with a bowl gouge. This is a 3/8 bowl gouge. This is a shear cut with the bevel rubbing. Don't go racing off the end because it'll splinter the end. You have to come in the face. So I can use the tool flute up because I've got a steep right wing on this deep fluted bowl gouge. If I did that with a shallow gouge, guaranteed catch, which I'm not going to demonstrate, or not deliberately anyway. Now, up this end, that's not flat, so I need to deal with that. Spindle gouge rolled on its side, just using the wing. Squeeze that in. Just to get the edge true, then I can roll it up for a shear cut back to centre. Now I rind the tailstock in because I've taken away most of the wood it was going into. I've taken it away again, but this time that's pretty well flat, so that's fine. And what I want is a flat to slightly concave base, which will go seat well into the chuck. It is very slightly out, so I watch the far side and then pull it in a bit. Looks pretty good. And the whole thing's going to get trued up several times. Interesting, nice bits of grain coming out here. Right, get rid of that. Half-inch spindle gouge again. Bring the rest in and just take a slightly longer cut up here to get rid of the remaining flat areas. Drive them in the wood. Now I keep the bevel riding. Now that's really not as good a tool for this job as the deep fluted bowl gouge, so in here just using the steep bit to the right of the nose. Fishing around for where it's cutting. Really pulling the tool onto the rest and my fingers using the rest as a kind of jig, as a guide. I'm going over this later once it's drilled out, so all I want at the moment is to be rid of the flats, still a little bit there, and there's a bulge in the middle, so I'll get shot of that as well. Need to true up the other end. And then this is going to be drilled out, so now I need to get the drill. I have this drill in a Jacob's chuck, and the drill doesn't want to be any larger, shall I put it that way. There's probably about 3/16 of an inch all the way around the edge of the drill, so this blank is barely large enough. It's going to be thin, so that gets into there. The main thing to remember here is that as the shavings come out, they're going to build up in here, and you don't want them getting too tight because you can't get the drill out. And I shall run this a little bit slower, so it's running at 870 at the moment. See how that goes. Real squeaky noises. Always put a bit of oil, and that kind of polishes or keeps it lubricated as it goes. So I might just do that with a bit of just use boiled linseed in this case. First I need to get this back into the chuck. I suppose I could just pop it on. Now that has changed shape slightly. Just go slower. So I'll come up a bit. So I'm now running 650. Should be all right. No squeakiness. I'm forgetting, I've actually got to push that in. The main thing is, at this stage, get that clear, wind this back. From now on I go in about a centimetre at a time, which is about 4 winds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's packed much more densely. That was nearly 5 turns. And if you get that too tightly packed, when you try and pull the drill out, because this is cross-grained, you'll end up with an actual pipe. It'll be hollow at both ends. And how do I know that? From practical experience. And so on we go. And here we are for the last pass. And then it's going to end up at 25 centimeters deep. I don't think that will go any further. Oh, it will go slightly further. I thought that was going to be the last one. it was. Tailstock will go in, winding no further. So that's the drilling done, and I'm down to just below the height of the jaws, I think. Where are we? 25. Yep, so I'm down to just below the top of the jaws, and I want a bit of weight in the bottom, so that will probably be just about right. Very irritatingly, I caught the rim at some stage with the drill. Not quite remember what happened, so I need to clean that off, and I do that with a gouge. Normally do that with the just to the right of the nose of the 3/8 or even a 1/4 inch deep fluted bowl gouge. Easing it forward across. I really don't want pressure that way. So next thing is to sand the inside. I'm not going. It's a very nice clean cut there. I don't think I need to. Actually, it's done very nicely. I just need to do the rim, which I think probably 220 will take care of that. 240 grit rather. Can't get at it later. Now this is already warping, so I don't have a huge amount of time to kind of mess around with it. Rim's done. This now needs turning around over a chuck of some sort, or if I can get these jaws inside, I will. If I can't get these jaws inside, it will be the next chuck down. That's a bit too tight. I don't have any room for padding. So I have a choice of jaws. I can use either the pin jaws or the shark jaws, and I prefer the shark jaws because the other ones are longer, but the advantage of this one will be that get it down to the right kind of size. There are two things here. One, this is wet wood, so I don't really want the metal in contact with the wood for very long, and the other thing is, so if I can cover the jaws, I will, and I'm using the non-slip cloth. Goes in there, around, and in there. A little bit kind of fiddly. Yeah, I could open the jaws a bit. Get the jaws open and pull it down inside. And this is spongy enough that it will stretch as I expand the jaws. I'll go down tight again. That goes over. Expand the jaws enough. So I can, don't tighten that too much. I'd like this end clear of the chuck jaws so I can sand right up to the end. Alright, so you tighten that up enough to stop the thing spinning, so it spins all right. Now I've got to get rid of those chuck marks and take a nice steady cut to finish off the outside, remembering that it is fairly thin. So two ways of doing this. If I want a heavyish cut, take a lot off, then I use the bowl gouge. If I don't want to take off very much, you can be better off doing with a shear scraper. So first bit, rest comes down so that when I'm cutting with this edge, it's cutting just above centre. It could even come down a little bit more, but I think that'll be all right. Now all that is distorting in the middle, so I think I'm going to shear straight this small one, so it tools up on edge, not flat because there'd be just too much edge in contact with the wood at once. So I'm after a little wispy shaving and getting rid of the lumps. Well, I want an undulating form anyway, and since it's beginning to warp, I think I'm just going to be sanding the heck out of this and letting the wood do its thing. And it's doing its thing a bit faster than some of the other ones I've done from this particular bit of wood because it's a lot thinner. Right, that's, I think, is all it's going to get. And then it's going to get some fairly serious sanding, starting off with 120 grit. I'm tempted to start with 80. In fact, I will. I'm going to start with 80 up here. Yes, it's looking a bit lumpy, this one. I'm very nervous about cutting it down because it's so thin, but I'm going to have to. Right, we'll get at this with the bowl gouge. Just going to put another edge on it. On this occasion, I haven't touched this wing at all. I've only done the bit which I'm going to be using, which is round on the right. More speed. So I'm now running at 1700. So I want to go through the bumps and across any little dips. That's really out of whack there. I've not had this happen before with the wood moving more in the middle, but the grain is quite a bit different in the middle. We've got different grain direction. We've got there's a knot, and there's this coming down here to a knot. I need to take a little bit out of there and a little bit out of there, and I think the middle will look all right. The moral here is I should have done it before the drilling. But normally I put the V grooves up the outside of these at this stage. No grooves on this one. Right, back to the 80 grits. This will blend the newly trued surface in with the older trued surface. Well, this is going to bend that way anyway, so the slight lump there is not going to make any difference at all in the long run. I'll just do a little bit in reverse. Torn grain, a little bit of torn grain there. Well, it's not so much torn as it's kind of lifted out as a length. So deal with that with shear scraping. Well, two ways of dealing with it. Probably better just to flatten that with the sander, and I can even do it just with a block. Rubber. What that will leave me with is a barely discernible flat surface or slight groove, and the whole thing is going to be distorted anyway, and will probably be near impossible to discern. It certainly won't stick out. Right, fresh bit of 180. I need to attend to the bottom a bit too, which I'd forgotten. This needs to be undercut. 3/8 spindle gouge. While I've got the chance. The final bit gets done with a rotary sander. There's a 240 grits. Now, to complete this, using the 3/8 spindle gouge, I've got very little supporting the tail center at the moment. Reduce it still further. Cross grain, so as the lathe is coming to a halt, I'm just going to give a little shove and the fibers will split. Now I could hang on to this and sand that, but if it comes loose, it's quite dangerous, so not worth taking the risk. Now this now goes into the microwave oven for, I'll try it on 2.5 minutes, as there's quite a bit of wood in the total length, and I wanted to come out steaming, and I can already feel this distorting. What happens when these dry out is that these growth rings are going to try and straighten themselves, so I anticipate this is going to bend that way. This has now had 2 lots of 2 minutes on cook in the microwave, and you can see it's beginning to move quite a bit, and I anticipate that in the next few days it'll move a bit more, especially if I put it in the oven again. That's thinking of lifting, and if it does, then I can fill the gaps with blackened epoxy or something like that. That's just a bit of stuff out of the microwave which will sand off in a little bit. But at the moment it's too hot to hang on to.